If you don't know, now you know. Now you're more in the know with yours truly, Josh Moore. What's up, everybody? This is More in the Know podcast. Coming to you again, baby. 2022 is off the ground, and I am rocking my Field Supplements basketball jersey. This is the white, teal, and pink option, and we have a black, teal, and pink option in the basketball jerseys. Baseball jerseys, we have 5 different color styles. We have sports leggings and sports bras for the ladies out there. So if you have yet to get any gear, now's the time. This is an exclusive drop. Head to fieldsupplements.com. You can find the website link down below and get yours, baby, because they are going fast, and you want to be swagged out for the spring and summer. I know we've all been hiding behind a lot of clothes in the wintertime. Obviously, I haven't because I'm in the desert, the Arizona, but if you're in those northern Midwestern states and spring is near, now is the time to get in shape. Snag yourself a sports bra, some leggings. Snag yourself a really awesome jersey for any occasion. They're nice enough to wear out, and they're cool enough to wear to the gym. That's what I love about these. Really high quality material, quality products. And you know what? While you're there, snag yourself some pre-workout, some protein, and get those gains popping for 2022 as well. For today's podcast, I want to get right into it. There's been a few things that are on my mind lately, and as if you've seen maybe a shift in my content, there's a reason for it. And the reason is I really want to be the person, not one, I just want to be one of many people whose content is based around some core principles of mine. Now, I'm not some holy Bible follower. I'm not somebody that's saying, hey, this is the conservative way. I'm not conservative. I'm not left or the right. I'm not a Christian. I'm just a human being that has come to my own conclusions about some situations. And what I've noticed is that sex, polyamorism, being in poly relationships, all these different situations has come to the forefront. Now, I'm not going to bash it because I've been in these types of situations. I've been in these types of relationships before with women, and I have respect for all of it. But what I can say is the more that I grow older and the more that I really expand my mind, and maybe it's just because I am growing older, is I want to set the precedent. I want to be someone who really comes forth and says, hey, my content's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be flashy promoting sex and drugs and drinking like a lot of these companies are doing, a lot of these influencers are doing. That's not what I want to do. Now, it's not me versus them. That's their journey and this is mine. This is simply sharing my truth and what I believe is consciousness. Because when you live in consciousness, there's a whole level of understanding for the sacredness of relationships and sex and women and the divine feminine and the divine masculine that go together in unity. It's not this overpowering toxic masculinity that the media wants to portray and put down our throat. And these soy boy liberals, I shouldn't even say that, but these soy boy liberals that are being exalted because of the gaslighting that's going on because of the current landscape of the world. Masculinity isn't toxic. Masculinity is masculinity, and the whole feminine movement has been hijacked by this far radical movement of women completely, absolutely destroying the movement from the ground up. And so now we have people like fucking Caitlyn Jenner winning Woman of the Year, which should never happen. So you have a man that turned into a woman winning Woman of the Year. I mean, come on, man. Or a woman, whatever the situation is. So what I want to speak about today is, obviously this is titled, I Just Got Myself a Girlfriend. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Maybe you'll know at the very end of this conversation. But what I want to talk about is monogamy. Number 1, sacred sex and the mastery of sexual transmutation. These are topics that have been on my top of my head for quite some time now, and I really want to break these down. Monogamy. Number 1, I believe in it. For a long, long time, I didn't want to believe in monogamy. I didn't want to believe that I was going to be bound to just one person. And in my mind, the reason why I didn't think that I was going to be bound to one person was because I was overdriven by my reptilian brain of this sex-driven mind. I was so out of control with my mastery of sexual transmutation that I literally could not believe that I could be with one person simply due to my sex drive. Me having to have sex with all these women to fulfill this desire. But in reality, it was just fulfilling these low levels of esteem that were filling voids in me. Why I was receiving this false gratification of having sex with a woman so I could put another notch on my belt, put another mark on the side of my bed, and move on. Well, my detachment with sexual intercourse began to happen over time as my addiction got stronger, as well as my addiction with substances and so forth and so on. So I was becoming detached from this very sacred dance that we all have and we all share with one another, that's being portrayed as this very non-sacred situation. And I fell victim to this for such a long time. And I believed that monogamy wasn't a thing. I believed that I couldn't be with one person simply because there was too many women in the world that I want to have sex with. Now I've completely come back to my roots. And as I've come back to my roots, I've realized monogamy is an absolute thing. Now, is there always going to be temptation? There's always going to be desire. There's always going to be absolutely these things. But ultimately, it's the transmutation of sexual energy. It's your ability to really master the sexual urge. Not control it, be one with it, and really utilize it to be able to propel yourself in areas of your life to create commerce, success, abundance, and these relationships that are cultivating and growing continuously, where you are committed. I believe that many of us use this new poly movement to really band-aid the root of the cause of the problem. And that's really low levels of esteem that keep us in the situation of uncommitted. We don't want to commit to somebody because truthfully, we're uncommitted to ourselves. And I've seen many people even on the forefront of this. Aubrey Marcus was somebody who I looked up to. And I've been in polyamorous situations. I've been in poly relationships, and I've tested it out. There was a lot of benefit from it. It really stripped me from ego. There was a lot of situations where it really brought me back home to my roots to say, okay, because you aren't anybody's keeper, right? You're not anybody's keeper. I'm not anybody's trainer. I'm not anybody's keeper. And what I mean by that is nobody is my property. I'm not a horse keeper. My wife isn't mine. My girlfriend isn't mine. I don't own her. She's her own autonomous being that's in this sacred entanglement, the sacred divine parallel situation with myself. That's all that it is. And if things change, people change, places change. And if that's part of the situation and the journey, then I'm going to accept that as they come. Now, that time has yet to come, but I'm saying is that I'm not attached. I'm in a state of non-attachment while being in this sacred relationship. You can absolutely live in the same space, be in a place of non-attachment, but be in a relationship with people, places, and things. You can absolutely do that. You don't have to be like, this ultra spiritual being where I'm not attached to anything and, nothing means anything. Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to love and you're going to share. But ultimately, being in a place of non-attachment allows you to be simultaneously there, have this sacred dance, share these experiences, but simply be the witnesser and not as much the identified self of the thinker or the doer, but instead you're the witness and the experiencer. So when it comes to relationships, monogamy is such a beautiful thing. I used to run away from this idea of monogamy. I used to believe that it wasn't true for myself. But until I really got to the root cause of what I was scared of, and I was truly scared of myself. I was scared of what was required for me to really get to the root of the cause of my addictions. My porn addiction, my sex addiction. Getting to the root of the cause of these problems has allowed me to begin to master my sexual transmutation and understand that my sacred seed was absolutely planted it very unconsciously for many years. I had unsacred sex, unconscious sex for many, many years. And not that I live in regret and I'm not critical of myself because I've allowed myself to make amends and I've forgiven myself for the wrongs that I've committed and I've forgiven myself for these situations that I've done in my past because I'm no longer bound by my past and I am me and I am free right here, right now. And I've forgiven myself for these situations. But as part of growth, part of spiritual cultivation is you beginning to be vulnerable and accept the things that you have done. And that's where I've stepped into is a place of acceptance. I can't change the unconscious seeds that I used to plant with these women. I can't change that sacred energy exchange that I had with these people. I can't change that. What I can do is I can be in the now. And in the now, right now, moving forward, I can be in a body of rigorous honesty and be candid about my situation. And that's what's required out of you. Now, if you're trying to justify your non-monogamy beliefs by simply your addictions, take a look inside of what really the root cause of this is. Now, if you don't believe that there's good men or good women out there, it starts with you. If you want to attract a good man or a good woman, it starts with you. And ultimately, everything starts with you. And stop saying that there's not any good men or good women because you're looking in the wrong places. And maybe you're not even looking in the wrong places. You're just not aligned. Maybe you're sending out a very contradictory signal where you want to attract somebody, but you ultimately don't because you're scared to commit. And when the person's right there in front of you, you'll sabotage and set yourself up to be disappointed. You'll sabotage the relationship and you'll sabotage yourself to be in the state of continual uncommitted. You'll be continually uncommitted. If that's you, trust me, I've been there. So when it comes to that brings up the second point. I've really talked about this is sex. Sex is truly sacred. And me, as a recovering addict, I've began to really let go of this addiction. Let go of this fulfillment of having to ejaculate and really get this short-term pleasure of dopamine, noradrenaline, and these hormones that are being released to fulfill my lower self, my lower voids. Now I'm really stepped in this body of committed. I rarely watch porn, if not ever, and porn and masturbation has been replaced by sacred sex, by sexual intercourse with somebody that I'm in a relationship with. And if I'm not in a relationship, I'm not having sex. And that doesn't always mean like boyfriend, girlfriend. It just means I'm in a committed, monogamous relationship with somebody that they are in the same situation with me. I'm not sleeping around. And this is something that I've really stepped into the last few years of sobriety. Well, sobriety opened my mind to my sex addiction. My sobriety opened my mind to my substance addiction. But most importantly, my sobriety opened my mind to the unresolved feelings of why I'm an addict. And the reason why I'm an addict is these low levels of esteem that are trauma bonds that are being suppressed and repressed by trauma, guilt, shame, rejection, and abandonment. That's why. Now, it's these different situations that I've had growing up that have led me to fulfilling things outside of myself to fill voids when ultimately the result is the complete opposite, just leaves a bigger void. Now, as I step into a place of vulnerability, I can see these things with absolute and utmost clarity, and I understand that the pleasure will no longer be worth the pain. So I don't have to go have sex anymore to fulfill these low levels of esteem to make me feel even worse. What it's allowed me to do is be in a body of understanding why I'm feeling it, feel the feeling, experience the feeling, be witness to it, and easily and effortlessly let it go. So now sexual transmutation is really stepping into a body that you're able to take these sexual urges. Imagine dating a woman and being in a relationship with somebody where it's not always about sex and physical attraction, where you can absolutely not even refrain from that, but it's about being with them and not being in them, because we're so infatuated with being in them. A major red flag for me is when I start talking to somebody and it's all based around sex. I automatically now go into this place where it's like, that's a red flag, and I'm almost turned off of it before I be turned on from it. And now that I'm turned off from it, it's allowed me to say, this is probably not right for me, because this whole relationship was led with sex. Now, I'm not fucking perfect. And this has happened a few times in the last few years where I've led with sex. That's called a relapse. And there's going to be occasional relapses on your journey, but that also takes the type of vulnerability and honesty to even accept that. I'm not a perfect person, but I can understand that, hey, I'm going to make mistakes and they're going to be short-term and intermittent. And I'm going to understand that I must make amends with these mistakes that I'm making and grow from them. Because if you continually make the same mistake over and over and over again, then it's really not a mistake, then it's a habitual habit. It's an unconscious habit. And I'm trying to live, I'm being my best to live a committed, conscious life. And that's what's required of you. So when it comes to committed, monogamous relationships, I absolutely believe in it. Now, is there going to be challenges? Is there going to be obstacles? Is there going to be situations that you must overcome? Absolutely. But in a committed relationship with a partner that's on the same resonance level, same energetic level as you are, guess what? It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than when you're not led by sex, but you're led by loving them, and the relationship grows as time goes. Not the opposite. So many times you have sex with somebody and you're like, on to the next one. I'm really not that interested anymore. But imagine being with somebody. Sex is a complement to the divine relationship that you're having with them. This exchange of feminine and masculine, or masculine and feminine energy. Imagine that relationship growing over time and not going the opposite. And that takes a level of vulnerability on both ends to have this receptibility to be able to communicate, to be able to feel, to be able to let go, make amends, and speak clearly what you seek to happen, what you would like to happen. You speak clearly on how you feel. And you can really have this communication, this divine relationship with your partner that allows you to be in this monogamous relationship. Do I believe it's possible? Absolutely. And that's what I'm going to be here to do is I'm going to say it's possible. Now, you don't have to rush into it. I'm not saying that this could be your next girlfriend or your next boyfriend. What I'm saying is it's out there. It's available. And it's available in the ether when you align yourself to it. But when you close yourself off to this idea, and then you put yourself in this realm that it's not possible, and then you look at the actions of how you're living, they're going to be contradictory to this whole entire belief that it is even possible. So if you're always living in this contradictory belief, expect to have contradictory results. So that's it today. That's my podcast. And if I have a girlfriend, I have a girlfriend. If you don't know, now you know. Now you're more in the know. And if you're more in the know, then you'll know if I have a girlfriend or not. But if not, thank you all for tuning in and taking along. This podcast is about sex, sexual transmutation, and monogamous relationships. You all have a beautiful day.